The market was alive with noise. Strange lights flashed above, and the air was heavy with smoke and dust. Voices rose and fell, sharp and cruel, echoing through the alien bazaar. In the center of it all, a tall iron platform stood, covered in rust and dirt. On that platform stood a mother, her body thin, her skin scarred, and her head lowered in shame. Her arms wrapped tightly around a small child, no more than 5 years old. The child's eyes were wide, filled with fear. He pressed his face into her chest, as if trying to hide from the sea of alien eyes staring at them. The mother whispered soft words in her broken voice, trying to calm him, but even she could not stop her own trembling. The auctioneer, a thick-bodied alien with yellow skin and 4 arms, slammed a metal staff against the platform. His voice cut through the noise like a blade. "Look here, a rare offering, a mother from the fallen Kurath clan, broken but still alive, and with her, an untouched child. Who will take them? Who will make the first bid?" The crowd jeered, some laughed, some spat at the ground. Their eyes did not see a person. They saw weakness. They saw something to be thrown away. "She is worthless," one alien muttered. "Not even good for labor," another said. "Better to send her to the pits." The mother held her child tighter. She had already heard these words many times, words like knives that cut deeper than any wound on her skin. She kept her eyes down, refusing to meet their stares. She prayed silently, "Please, someone, anyone." The auctioneer shouted again, "Who will take them? Who will make an offer?" Silence. Not a single hand rose. The minutes dragged on, each one heavier than the last. The child whimpered softly, his voice lost in the noise of the market. No one cared. The crowd grew restless. "If no one makes a bid," the auctioneer growled, "then they will be sold to the E-pits. The child too. Think well. Even the lowest price will do." The mother's heart sank. The pits, a place where beings were thrown into endless darkness, forced to fight or die. She knew if she went there with her child, it would be the end. She closed her eyes and whispered into her son's ear, "I am sorry. I cannot save you." The auctioneer raised his staff again. "Last call. Will no one make a single offer for this broken alien mother and her child?" The crowd answered with silence. The mother felt her knees weaken, her body swayed, and for a moment she thought she might fall. She imagined her child being ripped from her arms. She imagined his cries echoing as they dragged him into the dark. She had lived through war, through hunger, through endless cruelty. But this final shame broke something deep inside her. Then it happened. A voice rose from the back of the crowd, calm, clear, steady. A voice that did not carry mockery, but something else. "I will take them." The entire market froze. Heads turned. Murmurs rippled through the air. The mother's eyes lifted slowly, as if afraid to believe. From between the crowd stepped a figure, unlike the rest. A man in a simple dark jacket, his boots dusty from travel. His skin was pale compared to the bright colors of the aliens around him, and his eyes were sharp, human eyes that carried both strength and sorrow. A whisper spread. "A human? What is a human doing here? Does he not know what he is buying?" The man walked forward, ignoring their laughter. He stopped at the edge of the platform and looked directly at the mother. Not at her scars, not at her weakness. He looked at her eyes, as if she were not an object, but a person. The auctioneer blinked, confused. You make an offer?" The man nodded. "Yes, I will take them, both of them." Laughter exploded from the crowd. "Humans are fools. He waste. His credits on trash." "She is broken. Why would he want her?" The man did not look at them. His gaze stayed on the mother, steady and unshaken. The mother's heart pounded, and her lips trembled. She did not understand. No one had ever spoken for her before. No one had ever stood between her and shame. The child peeked from behind her arms, his small eyes meeting the humans. For the first time in many days, the boy saw something that did not look like cruelty. He saw a chance, a spark of hope. The auctioneer grinned. "Very well, human, she is yours, but you will regret it." The man reached into his pocket, placed his credits on the table, and said in a firm voice, "She carries my name now. She is not broken." The market fell silent. Even the laughter stopped. The words echoed like thunder in the smoky air. The mother gasped. Her eyes filled with tears. She held her child closer, her body shaking, but this time not from fear. Because for the first time in her life, someone had chosen her. The marketplace was still buzzing long after the auctioneer's hammer fell. The crowd whispered, sneered, and mocked, unable to believe what had just happened. A human, of all creatures, had claimed the broken alien mother and her child. The man, Captain Aaron, did not answer the noise. He stood calm, his jaw set, his eyes fixed on the mother. With one steady movement, he stepped onto the platform. The mother flinched as his boots rang against the iron floor. For a moment, she feared he might strike her, like so many others had done before. But instead, he crouched low so his eyes were level with hers. His voice was quiet but strong enough to reach through the thick air. "You are safe now," he said. "No one will touch you while you are under my name." The mother stared at him, her lips parting in disbelief. She had heard words before, empty promises, cruel lies, but this man's tone was different. His eyes held no mockery, no pity, only truth. Still, she could not trust him. Not yet. She drew her child closer, whispering in her own language, "Stay Q. You yet. Do not look at him." The auctioneer grunted, shoving the credits into his bag. "Take them and go, human. You've bought yourself trouble." Aaron ignored him. He held out his hand not to grab but to offer, slowly, gently. The mother hesitated. Her fingers twitched. Her child's small hand clutched her arm tighter, refusing to let go. She shook her head and looked away. Aaron did not pull his hand back. He simply waited. Minutes passed. The crowd lost interest, drifting to other stalls, other amusements. The jeering faded, but Aaron still stood there, patient as stone. Finally, the mother rose to her feet. She was trembling, but she would not kneel before the human. If he was to take her, she would stand. "Why?" she whispered, her voice weak from hunger and fear. "Why would you choose me?" Aaron looked at her as if the answer was obvious. "Because no one else would." The words struck her harder than any blade. She could not understand. Aliens did not act without reason. They took what was useful, discarded what was not. Why would a human waste his credits, his time, his protection on her? The child peeked up again, his small eyes locking onto Aaron's. Something in the boy's stare made Aaron's chest ache. A memory flashed in his mind. Another small face years ago, before the war had stolen everything. Aaron pushed the thought aside. He stood tall, his voice firm now. "You belong to no one, but if you walk with me, you walk under my name. That means protection. That means respect. Do you understand?" The mother blinked, confused. In her culture, a name was more than a word. It was clan, honor, and history. To carry someone's name meant to belong, to be shielded, to have worth. "You give me your name?" she asked, still trembling. "Yes," Aaron said, "if you accept it." Silence hung heavy between them. The child tugged at his mother's arm, whispering, "Gee," softly, "Mama, please." Her heart broke. She wanted to believe, she wanted to accept, but every scar on her body reminded her of betrayal, of chains, of promises broken. At last she nodded, though her voice shook. "I will accept." Aaron's hand finally closed around hers, not with force, but with care. He helped her down from the platform as if she were not a slave, but a queen. The crowd parted, some muttering, some spitting on the ground, but no one dared stop him. Humans had a strange reputation in the galaxy. Stubborn, reckless, dangerous when pushed. Aaron walked forward with the mother and child at his side. The boy clutched his leg, looking up with wide eyes. For the first time, a flicker of trust lit within them. They passed through the streets of the market, past alien vendors who shook their heads. "A fool," one hissed. "He'll regret it." But Aaron did not care. When they reached the docking bay, the mother finally spoke again. "You are strange, human. You treat me as if I matter." Aaron stopped at the base of his ship, turning to her with a steady gaze. "Because you do." Her breath caught in her throat. She wanted to argue, to say she was broken, ruined, unworthy. But the words would not come. His voice had left no space for doubt. The ramp lowered, and his crew appeared. 4 humans, hardened by travel and battles. Their eyes widened at the sight of her. "Captain," one said, frowning. "What is this? We don't have room for strays." Aaron's tone was sharp. "She's not a stray. She is under my name. That makes her one of us." The crew exchanged uneasy glances. Some looked doubtful, others curious. The mother felt their stares like fire on her skin. She lowered her head again, afraid they would reject her too. But Aaron's voice cut through their silence. "Prepare quarters. She and the boy will rest tonight. That's an order." Reluctantly, they obeyed. As the mother stepped into the ship, her child still clinging to her side, she whispered to herself, "Maybe this human is different." She did not yet know if she could. Hildy trust him fully. But for the first time in years, the weight on her chest felt a little lighter. And in that small moment of hope, a bond began to form, one that would change not only her life, but the fate of many. The ship's engines hummed softly as it left the alien bazaar behind. The stars stretched out like silver dust across the black sky. For many on board, it was just another journey through space. But for the alien mother and her child, this night was unlike any they had ever known. They had been taken into a new world. The mother sat in a small corner of the cabin Aaron had given them. The room was plain, bare metal walls, a narrow bed, a single light fixed above, but to her it felt unreal. She had expected chains, cold floors, and guards with whips. Instead, there was softness beneath her child's body, warmth in the air, and no one standing over her with threats. She sat stiff, her arms still wrapped around her boy. She did not trust this sudden kindness. Kindness was always a trap. The child, however, was different. His small hands explored the blanket, his wide eyes studying the strange human designs carved into the walls. He tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mama, this place, it does not smell like the pits." The mother hushed him quickly, afraid the humans outside might hear. She pulled him close again, whispering, "Do not trust this. Nothing is free." Yet even as she spoke the words, she noticed something strange. No one had taken their food away. No one had shouted at them. When the door had closed, Aaron had simply said, "Rest. You'll be safe here." Then he left. Safe, a word she had not heard in years, but her heart could not believe it. Outside, the ship's corridors were alive with quiet voices. Aaron's crew was gathered near the common table, their eyes hard with suspicion. "Captain," said one of the crew, a woman named Ellis, "you brought trouble aboard. That alien will be nothing but a burden." Aaron leaned against the wall, arms crossed. His face was calm, but his eyes were sharp. "She's not trouble. She's under my name now. That means she's one of us." A younger crewman scoffed. "One of us? She's broken, Captain. Look at her. She'll never fight, never work. What good is she?" Aaron's jaw tightened. His voice came out like steel. "What good is a child? What good is mercy? You don't measure worth by usefulness. Not on my ship." The room fell silent. The crew had seen this side of Aaron before, unyielding, stubborn, impossible to sway once he made a choice. They grumbled but said no more. Back in the cabin, the mother's eyes were heavy with exhaustion, but sleep would not come. She sat awake long after her child drifted off, his tiny hand curled around her arm. Every sound of the ship made her tense. She expected the door to slam open, guards to drag her out, cruelty to return. But hours passed, and none of that happened. Instead, the door opened softly. Aaron stepped inside, holding 2 bowls of food. The smell made the mother's stomach twist with hunger. She had not eaten properly in days. He set the bowls down without a word. One he pushed gently toward her, the other he placed near the boy. The mother narrowed her eyes. "Why do you feed us?" Aaron shrugged, as if the question itself was strange. "Because you're hungry." Her voice sharpened. "You expect me to serve you in return?" Aaron shook his head. "No, I expect you to survive, that's all." The mother stared at him, her mind racing. In her world, nothing was given without a price. Yet this man acted as if giving meant nothing to him. She watched him turn and walk toward the door. Before he left, he paused. "Eat. You'll need your strength. Tomorrow you'll see the stars from the deck. Not many get that chance." And then he was gone. The mother's hand trembled as she lifted the bowl. Steam rose from the food. It was simple, warm, filling. She hesitated, her pride and suspicion warring with her hunger. But when she saw her child's eager eyes, she pushed the bowl toward him instead. The boy ate quickly, joy lighting up his face. "Mama, it's good." Her chest tightened. She picked at the second bowl, forcing herself to taste. The flavor was strange but gentle. Nothing poisoned, nothing cruel, just food. For the first time in years, she felt her body soften, her hunger quiet. She glanced at her son, his small mouth smeared with broth, his eyes half closing in comfort. A tear slipped down her cheek. She turned her face away so he would not see. When the child fell asleep again, the mother sat in the silence of the cabin. She could not understand this human. He had bought her, yet did not treat her as a possession. He spoke of names, of protection, of safety. Words that made no sense in her broken world. And yet, for the first time in many long nights, she allowed her eyes to close without fear. Out in the corridor, Aaron leaned against the wall outside her cabin. He did not sleep either. His eyes stared at the cold metal ceiling, haunted by memories of another child he had once failed to protect. But this time, he swore he would not fail. Inside the cabin, the alien mother and her boy slept peacefully, unaware that their lives had already changed forever. The ship sailed quietly through the stars, leaving the alien market far behind. The darkness of space pressed against the windows like an endless ocean. For Captain Aaron and his crew, it was only another passage. For the alien mother and her child, it was a step into the unknown. The mother sat by the small window in her cabin, watching the stars. She had never seen them this way, bright, close, alive. On her world, stars had only been distant points of light above the smoke of burning cities. Now they surrounded her like 1,000 silent guardians. Her son leaned close to the glass, his small hand side pressed against it. "Mama," he whispered, "it feels like the stars are following us." She placed a hand on his shoulder, unsure what to say. She wanted to smile for him, to give him hope, but fear still chained her heart. This human ship was safe for now, but how long could safety last? The door slid open with a hiss. Aaron stepped inside. He carried no weapons, no chains, only a soft smile that did not quite reach his tired eyes. "Come," he said gently. "The crew eats together. You should join us." The mother stiffened. "They do not want me there. I saw their faces." Aaron's voice became firm. "You are under my name. That means you sit at my table." Her son looked up at her with pleading eyes. "Please, Mama, I want to go." She hesitated, then nodded slowly. Together they followed Aaron down the narrow hallways until they reached the mess hall. The room was simple: long metal table, old chairs, a faint hum of machinery. 4 crew members were already seated, eating quietly. When the mother entered, all conversation stopped. Forks froze in midair. Eyes turned to her, sharp and cold. Ellis, the woman who had argued with Aaron the night before, muttered under her breath, "So this is what we've become? Feeding strays?" The mother lowered her head, shame burning her cheeks. She wanted to turn and flee back to the cabin. But Aaron placed a hand on her shoulder, steady and calm. "She is not a stray," he said, his voice cut through the tension like a blade. "She is one of us. If anyone has a problem with that, they can take it up with me." No one spoke. The silence was heavy, but no one dared challenge him further. Aaron pulled out a chair for her. She sat cautiously, her son climbing onto her lap. A tray of food was placed before them, bread, soup, and fruit she had never seen before. She touched it with trembling fingers, expecting it to be snatched away, but no one moved. Her son began to eat eagerly, his eyes bright with joy. The mother watched him, her heart both heavy and light. Across the table, one of the younger crewmen leaned forward. His tone was mocking. "Tell me, Captain, what do we call her? What name do we give to someone who doesn't even belong?" Aaron's gaze turned icy. "She belongs because I said so. And as long as she carries my name, she is worth more than your words." The crewman looked away, his smirk fading. The mother froze at those words. She wanted to ask, to understand. Why would this man fight for her in front of his own people? Why would he risk his authority for someone as broken as her? The meal continued in silence, broken only by the sound of spoons and the child's laughter. The mother did not eat much, but each bite reminded her of something she thought long lost: dignity. Later, when they returned to the cabin, the mother finally spoke. Her voice was quiet, almost a whisper. "You defend me, even when they doubt you. Why?" Aaron looked at her with tired eyes. For a moment, pain flickered in his expression, as if her question touched an old wound. "Because I know what it means," he said softly. "To be abandoned, to be left when no one else would stand with you." The mother's breath caught. She wanted to ask more, but his face told her he would not answer tonight. Instead, he added, "You may not trust me yet, but I will not let anyone harm you or your son. That is my promise." Her heart twisted. No one had ever promised her protection before. Promises had always been lies, and yet something in his voice made her believe, just a little. That night, when her son fell asleep, she sat awake again. But this time her thoughts were different. She remembered the auctioneer's cruel voice, the laughter of the crowd, the moment when no one raised a hand for her. Then she remembered Aaron's words, "She is not broken. She carries my name now." She touched her chest as if to feel the weight of those words. For the first time, she wondered if perhaps she was not as worthless as the galaxy had told her. Perhaps this human saw something else. Outside, the stars blazed against the endless black, guiding the ship toward a place she had never been, and a place Aaron called home. And though fear still lived in her heart, hope, small, fragile, dangerous hope, was beginning to take root. The stars outside the ship glowed quietly, but peace in space never lasted long. Somewhere beyond those stars, whispers had already begun. The alien clan that had abandoned the mother, the same clan that laughed when she was sold, heard of what had happened. News traveled fast through the trade routes. A human had bought the broken Kuroth mother. Worse, he had given her his name. To the clan, this was an insult. She had been their shame, their disgrace. They wanted her forgotten, erased. And now instead of disappearing, she was alive and walking under the banner of a human. The elders of the clan growled in anger. If word spread, it would stain their honor. There was only one solution. "Send hunters," the elder hissed. "Bring her back, dead if you must. The child too, and kill the human who dared claim her." The order was carried out. Ships were prepared. Back on Aaron's vessel, the mother did not yet know her hunters had been unleashed. She spent her days in silence, helping her son adjust to this new world. The boy laughed more now, running through the corridors with small steps, curious about every machine, every blinking light. The mother stayed close, still wary, but she began to see something she thought impossible. Her child smiling, without fear. Aaron watched them from a distance. He did not speak of it, but inside his chest, something softened. He remembered another small smile, long ago, from a child who was no longer alive. Protecting this mother and son was more than duty. It was redemption. But not everyone shared his feelings. In the mess hall, Ellis slammed her hand on the table. "Captain, this is madness. You put us all at risk. Word will spread. The Kuroth clan will not ignore this insult. They will come for Hawk." Aaron's gaze was steady. "Let them come." "Let them come?" Ellis snapped. "We are not a warship. We are a crew of traitors. If hunters track us, they will tear this ship apart." Aaron's voice turned cold. "Would you rather I had left her to die in the pits?" Ellis fell silent, but her eyes burned with frustration. The others shifted uncomfortably, unwilling to take sides. Later that night, as the ship drifted through the quiet void, alarms suddenly flared red. Sirens wailed. The deck vibrated under their feet. "Captain," the pilot shouted, "we've got company. 3 ships on our tail. Kuroth hunters." The mother froze where she stood. Her blood turned to ice. She knew that name too well. The hunters never failed. They were the executioners of her people, merciless and swift. Her son clung to her leg, trembling. "Mama, what is happening?" Her lips trembled, but no words came. Aaron rushed into the cabin. His face was sharp, his voice steady even under the alarm. "They've found us. You need to stay here. Do not open this door for anyone but me." The mother grabbed his arm desperately. "You don't understand. They will not stop. They will destroy you just to erase me." Aaron looked her straight in the eyes. "Then they'll have to go through me first." Before she could answer, he was gone. The ship shook as enemy fire struck the shields. The crew scrambled to stations, shouting orders, hands flying across controls. The hunters were faster, their weapons sharper. The air was thick with tension. Ellis cursed under her breath. "I warned you, Captain. They'll tear us apart." Aaron stood firm at the command console. "Then we fight smart. Hold them off as long as you can. Aim for their engines. Don't waste shots." The battle began. The mother clutched her child in the cabin, listening to the thunder outside. Every blast shook her bones. Her son buried his face in her chest, sobbing softly. She whispered empty words of comfort, her mind filled with terror. She remembered the auctioneer's cruel face. She remembered the silence when no one made an offer for her. And now, the only one who had chosen her was about to die because of it. Tears burned her eyes. She pressed her forehead against the child's hair. "I should have never let him take us," she whispered. "We have brought death upon him." But deep down, another thought pushed through the fear, a thought she had not dared believe before. He will not abandon us. Outside the cabin, Aaron's ship danced through the stars, dodging blasts of fire. Shields cracked, metal groaned, but still they held. The crew fought harder than they ever had, not for riches, not for trade, but because their captain refused to surrender. One hunter ship veered too close. Aaron barked an order. "Now, fire!" The cannons lit up, slamming into the hunter's engines. Flames burst across the black sky as the ship spiraled out of control. Cheers erupted from the crew. 1 down, 2 left, but the battle was far from over. In the cabin, the mother held her son tighter as the ship shook violently again. She prayed silently, not to her gods, not to fate, but to the strange human who had given her hope. "Please survive. Please do not leave us." The fight outside grew fiercer, brighter, louder. The hunters would not rest until she was gone, but Aaron would not rest either. And as the night stretched on, one truth became clear. This was no longer just a fight for survival. It was a fight for family. The ship groaned under the weight of enemy fire. Red alarms flashed across every corridor, painting the walls in light that looked like blood. The crew fought at their stations, sweat dripping, hands moving faster than thought, but the hunters were relentless. Aaron stood at the command console, eyes sharp, jaw hard. His voice cut through the chaos like a blade. "Hold the line, shields to front. Don't let them break us." The crew obeyed, though fear showed in their faces. Ellis Gree, Iping the weapon controls, shouted over the roar of the cannons, "Captain, their firepower is too strong. We can't keep this up." Aaron's reply was cold, firm. "Then we stand and fight. Better to fall on our feet than crawl on our knees." The hunters pressed closer. Their sleek ships glowed with cruel light, each blast shaking Aaron's vessel like a hammer against fragile glass. Sparks burst from panels. Smoke filled the air. In her cabin, the mother held her son tightly. Every crash, every jolt of the ship felt like the end. The boy cried softly, whispering, "Mama, are we going to die?" She closed her eyes, fighting tears. "No," she whispered, "not while he is here." But even she was not sure. On the bridge, another strike ripped through the shields. Systems flickered, alarms screamed louder. One crewman cursed. "Captain, one more hit and we're finished." Aaron slammed a fist against the console. "Then we don't wait for them to finish us. We take the fight to them." He turned to Ellis. "Target their lead ship. I don't care how close we have to get. Put every shot into their heart." Ellis stared at him as if he had gone mad. "That's suicide." Aaron's voice dropped, quiet but filled with fire. "It's survival. Do it." The ship swerved sharply, engines screaming as it raced toward the hunter leader. The enemy ship loomed larger and larger, filling the view with deadly light. The crew braced for impact, but Aaron stood tall, his eyes never leaving the target. "Fire!" he roared. The cannons erupted. Bolts of burning light slammed into the hunter's hull again and again. The enemy shields flared, then cracked, then shattered. Flames tore across the hunter ship as it buckled under the assault. An explosion burst through the black, sending debris scattering across the stars. Cheers rang out on the bridge. One more hunter destroyed. But victory was short. The lost bomb. T-Hunter circled behind them, its weapons glowing. It fired. The blast tore through the rear hull. The ship rocked violently, alarms screaming. A crewman was thrown from his chair. Sparks showered the deck. "We've lost engine power," shouted the pilot. "We're dead in the water." The crew froze. The hunter ship loomed closer, ready to strike the killing blow. In the cabin, the mother felt the ship shudder, the lights flicker. She clutched her son, whispering prayers in her broken voice. Her heart screamed in silence. "He cannot die. Not for me." Then over the intercom, Aaron's voice rang out, calm, steady, unbroken. "This is not the end. Stand with me." Something in his tone cut through the fear. The crew, shaken and battered, found new strength. Ellis gritted her teeth, eyes blazing. "Captain, if we overload the cannons, we might get one last shot, but it could blow us apart." Aaron's answer was immediate. "Then we risk it. Better to burn fighting than to fade in shame." The crew exchanged looks. Doubt lingered, but loyalty was stronger. One by one, they nodded. Ellis slammed her hands on the controls. "Overloading now." The ship's lights dimmed as power drained into the weapons. The hum grew louder, fiercer, like the heartbeat of a giant preparing for war. The hunter ship closed in, ready to fire. Its weapons glowed bright. Aaron's voice thundered across the bridge. "For every soul they've crushed, for every child they've broken, fire!" The cannons unleashed everything. A storm of burning light burst from the ship, slamming into the hunter at point-blank range. The enemy's shields shattered instantly. The hull cracked. The glow of its weapons died. Then the entire ship exploded in a blinding flash that lit the void like a second sun. Silence followed. No more hunters, only wreckage drifting across the stars. The crew sat frozen for a moment, then erupted in cheers. They had survived. Against the odds, against stronger enemies, they had stood and fought, and won. Aaron leaned on the console, sweet, dripping down his face, his breath heavy, but his eyes still burned with the fire of victory. In the cabin, the mother felt the silence settle. She opened her eyes slowly, as if afraid it was a dream. The ship was still. Her son, clutching her tightly, whispered, "Mama, did we live?" Her lips trembled, then curved into the faintest smile. "Yes, because of him." When Aaron finally entered the cabin, his jacket scorched, his face lined with exhaustion, the mother rose to her feet. For the first time, she did not look at him with suspicion or fear. Instead, she bowed her head, her voice soft but steady. "You fought for us when no one else would. You carry us not as burdens, but as your own. You gave me a name. And tonight, You gave us life. Erin's reply was simple. No one takes what's mine. Her heart ached at those words, but not with fear. For the first time, the ache was hope. Silence hung over the ship after the battle. The stars outside were quiet again, the burning wreckage of the hunter ships drifting slowly into the void. The crew worked to repair damaged systems, their hands steady now, their fear replaced with pride. Against impossible odds, they had survived. But in the small cabin near the center of the ship, something far greater than survival was being born. The mother sat on the narrow bed, her child curled against her chest. She could still feel the tremors of the fight in her bones, but the silence afterward felt different. Not the silence of despair, not the silence of defeat, but the silence of a storm that had passed. Her son lifted his head, his wide eyes glimmering. "Mama, the bad ships are gone, aren't they?" She nodded slowly. "Yes, little one, they are gone." The boy's lips curved into a small smile. He saved us. Her heart tightened. Yes, the human captain had saved them, again and again. But why? She had no answer that made sense. See, in her old world, in her people's ways, no one fought for the broken. No one risked their life for the shamed. Yet this human had done it without hesitation. The door opened, and Eren stepped in. His jacket was torn, his face marked with smoke, but his eyes were steady, bright with the fire that never seemed to leave him. The boy leapt off the bed and ran to him, small arms wrapping around his leg. Eren paused, startled, then knelt down. For the first time since the auction, a smile touched his lips. Not one of command or defiance, but something softer. "You were brave," he told the boy. "You and your mother both." The boy grinned, his small hands clutching Eren's sleeve. "Does that mean we are part of your crew now?" Eren's eyes flickered toward the mother. She stood, uncertain, her hands trembling. "You are more than crew," Eren said quietly. "You are family. As long as you carry my name, no one takes you from me. Not clan, not hunters, not anyone." The mother's breath caught. She looked at him as if the words themselves were impossible. Family, a word she had buried long ago in the ashes of war. Her lips trembled. "You truly mean this, even after the danger I brought?" Eren rose to his full height, his voice firm. "The danger wasn't yours, it was theirs. They chose to hunt you. We chose to stand, and I would make the same choice again." The mother lowered her eyes, but tears slid down her cheeks. For so long she had been told she was worthless, broken, nothing but shame. Now she was being told the opposite, not with empty comfort, but with action, with sacrifice, with blood spilled in her defense. Her son turned, tugging at her sleeve. His small voice was soft but filled with hope. "Mama, can we stay with him?" The mother knelt, pulling her child close. She wanted to protect him from more pain, more loss, but she knew deep in her heart that there was no safer place in all the galaxy than under this human's protection. She looked up at Eren. Her voice was fragile, but it did not break. "Then, we'll stay." For the first time since the auction, she felt her shoulders loosen, the weight of years lifting slowly away. Later, in the mess hall, the crew gathered again. This time the air was different. Where once there had been suspicion and doubt, there was now respect. They had fought beside their captain, and they had fought for the mother and her child. Ellis crossed her arms, studying the woman closely. At last she said, "Maybe you're not a burden after all. Maybe you're the reason we're still alive." The mother did not know how to answer, but Eren spoke for her. "She is not a burden. She is proof. Proof that where others see weakness, we see worth. That is what makes us human." The crew bowed their heads in quiet agreement. That night the mother lay awake beside her son, but for once her wakefulness was not from fear. She thought of Eren's words, his defiance, his strength. She thought of the crew who had fought not only for survival, but for her. And when her son stirred in his sleep, whispering softly, she heard the word that struck her deepest of all. "Father." Her eyes widened, tears blurring her vision. The boy had spoken it without hesitation, without doubt. He had given Eren the title she had thought lost forever. The next morning, when Eren entered the cabin, she bowed her head low, not in shame, not in defeat, but in respect. "You gave us more than safety," she said softly. "You gave us back our place. You gave my son a father, and me, a name worth carrying again." Eren looked at her with quiet strength. "Then carry it proudly, because you are one of us now. And no one, no clan, no empire, no war, can take that away." The ship sailed onward, cutting through the endless sea of stars. To others in the galaxy, it was just another vessel, another crew, but inside, something greater had begun. A new clan, a new bond, a new family, and in the cold silence of space, a truth echoed louder than any cannon fire. Humanity was more than power, more than weapons, more than survival. Humanity was choice. The choice to stand, to fight, to give hope when no one else would. And that choice had changed everything.